So we had a spirited debate about this in our group chat.
We pre-gamed this debate.
So, spoiler alert, the one who you would think would be most excited about this card is actually the least excited about this card. Because I think this is absolute trash, is what I think.
Welcome to episode 502 of Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. It is Thursday, June 19th, 2025, in the evening. Coming to you from Nomagana, Ohio, it's me, Edelweiss. From North Rand, Massachusetts, we have Wicked Good.
Hi.
From Teldrassil, California, we have Megasa.
Hello.
And from all around the world, we have you, dear listeners. This week's episode is brought to you by our producers, Number Theory, Crash, Beef Squatch, David P., Jeremy T., Bottle Caps, Grumpy Monk, The Burger Club, Kirk Regan, May, SSJ5 Goku, and NY Kiwi. And by our patrons of the week, Jim W. and World 8. You can go to patreon.com/coinconcede to get perks like a thank you at the top of the show, bonus post-show content, early access to new episodes, one-on-one coaching sessions, and help support the show in the process. If you would like to support the show but cannot do so monetarily, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on your podcast feed of choice, as it always helps other people find the show. So, yeah, this week we somehow united around an unexpected deck.
Well, less unexpected for me, I suppose, but probably much more unexpected for both of you.
You did find it.
I did. Yeah.
I wasn't knowing what to play. So I think this is how it happened. You found it, and then you were like, "Oh my god, I actually hit Legend with this." Was that what happened?
Yeah, that's and I mean, in fairness, I was at Diamond 1 star, so it was like 3 games. It wasn't like I ground for 3 days and got through to Legend, but I did take, went 3-0 to Legend. I'm like, okay, maybe this is a real deck.
I was at Diamond, like Diamond 10 or something.
Yeah.
So it was much more of a climb for me to get to Legend, and I entered Legend in top 1K and was very surprised.
Yeah. So we're playing Aviana Priest. This is all my fault because I was on Blue Sky. I follow Hearthstone top decks, as you should also, and they post, they post a lot of the, the decks that hit Legend, and I should probably find out who it was, actually, because we should give credit where credit is due for basically giving us content for this week. Obi-Wan Kenobi is the person who they hit 28 Legend with Aviana OTK Priest. And I said, okay, I'm tired of Death Knight. It's a priest. I'm desperate. I will try it.
And I told him that he had to. Yes.
Yes, and Megasa goaded me into it, as she is wont to do. And yeah, it's good. So basically, we've had this a couple times before. The actual OTK is not the spicy thing. It's all the text that this person put in around it. So the general idea is that you get Aviana down. Usually you're using, you're running the tourist stuff. So you have Parrot Sanctuary. So you're kind of getting Parrot Sanctuary down early, and then you can get Aviana down as early as turn 6 if you just use all of your button presses on it to discount it.
Once I got it on 5 because I got both Parrot Sanctuaries.
Oh,
that is not a normal game. And it was not an aggro deck. It was an Aviana Druid. And I got mine out before they got theirs out.
Yeah.
Oh my.
That's not a normal
good.
game.
Yeah, that's not normal. But I mean, and you don't have to get it down that early, but if you can, it helps, right? If you have the means. So ultimately, then you're just kind of stalling for 3 turns, which isn't that hard once you've gotten Aviana down. You have plenty of control tools, and Repackage is kind of the best one at that point. Repackage is online at 7. You have Bob at that point with freezes. You have a couple taunts. We'll get to those in a minute. And then Aviana's live. And then what you do is you play Tyrande. So she doubles up your spells. And then you play Champions of Azeroth. You are always picking the Alliance side. We are not a Horde deck. Horde has nothing for you. Because Alliance has, most importantly, Archmage Antonidas, who, if you have not been playing for a while, every time you play a spell, he throws a fireball in your hand. And at this point, by the way, all of your stuff costs 1. And sometimes that's not enough, because you play against Death Knights, who sometimes get up to 80. But if you've praised Yogg enough when you play the Champions of Azeroth, you'll also get a Velen or 2. I had a game today where there was a Death Knight who was at extremely high health, and they were feeling very proud of themselves because they were emoting a lot. And then I dropped 2 Velens and started throwing 48 damage fireballs at their face. Oh no, it's three Velens. It was 3 Velens. So I was throwing 48 damage fireballs at their face, and they died. That'll do. I mean, you have to kind of measure how much mana you have for this. But again, everything costs 1. You can use the remaining Parrot Sanctuaries to discount anything that's got a battle cry to 0. If you remember from Murmur Shaman, that's how that works. But the real tech is kind of staying alive, because Priest is, as I've lamented quite a bit on the show, does not have the greatest control tools for dealing with wide boards, but everyone has access to Sleepy Resident, and that's apparently the savior we needed. So Sleepy Resident's a 3/5 that has Death Rattle. All minions go back to sleep. So you stick a Doomsayer behind that, and unless they have direct damage for the Doomsayer or they can attack with their face, then it just goes off, and then you have a clear. I mean, you also have Bob with the Doomsayers. You sometimes also can just stick a bunch of taunts. The other tech that's interesting that I really like with this deck is that it's running exactly 2 dragons, which are both illusory green wings. So what that does is you're running Scale Replica, which either just draws those, which is what you want if you've played it early, or after one's died, it becomes 2 mana, draw 2, summon 2, 4/5 taunts, which I would put in a deck. Like, that's pretty good too. And then you could also stick a Doomsayer behind that because that's 2 taunts. So that's really good. You also run Glacial Shards. You have Repackage. You don't really run a lot of removal. Even like Chill and Vol'jin, I found, is not amazing, just because like your stuff is generally big enough and their stuff is not, so you generally can't steal a lot of health, but it's there because you want the Parrot Sanctuaries. And then sometimes you do whiff on the Antonidas. The reason you're doubling up the Tyrande is just to give you more shots at it, but then you can just like dump a bunch of Tyrians on board. You can Bran a Marin and get a whole bunch of Zarog's crowns. Like, you have other things that you can do if that doesn't work out as a plan B. But it's much more satisfying to just burn their face off.
I often will go the Bran Marin route, like against DKs, because it can get tricky to like Sasquatch the turn after going Tony and a bunch of fireballs. So I'll do things like, Marin and play like Doubled Crown and try and just like run them out of clears and then sort of save the Tony fireball stuff for later on, if I got it. Last night I had some poor luck and didn't really get it. But you can sort of meter things out. Like, if you don't draw both kobolds at once, I've definitely had times where it was like, I kobold a hand, have a handful of legendaries, and play the relevant ones. If I can, I will like Bran before the kobold, so I can Bran any like relevant legendaries afterwards. And then you can go, okay, and then these bad ones, I can do the second kobold.
One thing to keep in mind so Sasquatch can be good for another repackage, which is really good for some decks. Like the Warriors always have nowadays, it seems, the 4/8 testing dummy that does 8 to you. And if it dies, it goes on the hydration station. But if you can repackage it, they will draw it again eventually if you don't get your Aviana online. But you can repackage it, and the Sasquatch will repackage. So Sasquatch can also like repeat the Champions of Azeroth, but it picks randomly between Alliance and Horde. So you have a much smaller chance of getting Antonidas off of a Sasquatch play of that. Like, if you're totally desperate, you can do that. But I was like, oh, I have another shot at it, and then it picked Horde. It's like, right.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes Grom is not the worst thing to get off of that, but that's generally not what you're looking for.
Right.
Like,
I think I got Lauren Theron, or whatever his name is, that doubles Martha Ron.
Yeah.
That guy, and doubled stuff in my deck, but it was, we're not really like a minion deck, so it was not really enough.
My win rate has dropped off, but I'm still positive with it. But I had at one point like a 70 or 80% win rate with it. And it's definitely dropped off quite a bit since then. The meta's shifted. Luck is a thing. Like, sometimes it's not even just like you don't roll Antonidas. Sometimes like Aviana is just like the bottom card, and you can't wait the 3 turns because you can't really deal with the fatigue damage. Like, we're not running Kill Jaden because we're not monsters. I guess we could if it was really like that big of a deal, but you don't need it. If you're not ending the game at that point, then you really don't want it to go longer. You just want to go next, so it's fine.
Or just Bob theirs.
Yeah, or just Bob theirs, I suppose, yeah. I forget you can do that. I'm usually using Bob either to freeze or like draw a minion out of my deck and then get 2 copies of it, which always ends up being Doomsayer or Glacial Shard whenever I'm like just like desperately trying to find Tyrande or Aviana. But you also have bird watching too, so
you can use it as a big mana refresh as well, right? Yeah. Particularly if you're like, I need more fireballs this turn. I've got a Bran out, and you cast some fireballs, Bran, do the refresh twice with Bob to get 6 mana back, and then keep throwing fireballs.
Right, because at that point he costs 1. I had a warrior opponent who didn't really understand what I was doing, which I don't blame this person for. So they chem-spilled a Tortola on 4 because they had played New Heights on 3 and emoted at me. And I was like, cool, dude. I really don't care about your 130. They even cubed it, and I just waited until I could repackage them on 7, and I had gotten Aviana down on 6. I had drawn well enough to be able to do that and just beat them. But Wicked had a game where they did the same thing, but then they did Crazed Alchemist on the Tortola, so that worked out less well.
And I took 25, and that I was laughing a lot less in that game. That was okay. Sure. And then they followed it up with a testing dummy and both boom wrenches. And it's just like, okay, good job. You did it. Like, there's no way I'm beating all of that by like turn 7. Like, I shouldn't have to. I even had a greater healing potion that I healed up like a decent amount of the damage, but then they just like testing dummied me 3 times. And it's like, okay, you earned this one, I guess.
It does seem like if you've been interested in MechWarrior, there are builds that people seem to be doing well with. So
maybe you needed a story of Amara, Wicked.
We'll see. I mean, I didn't have 10 mana to play it, so I don't think that was going to help me. But that'll be foreshadowing. But
that is definitely foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been seeing weird stuff on ladder. I saw an asteroid shaman that milled me with paraglides that they had triangulated, and they played from the middle of their hand so that it drew me cards. And I had been drawing a lot trying to find my Aviana, and then I was ahead of them in fatigue, so they just fatigued me. Anyway.
That's a choice. Yeah. I thought fatigue wasn't a win con that they wanted in the game, but what do I know?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff going on. We're in that sort of in-between period, but we do have a lot of cards to talk about and a little bit of news. So,
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
Yeah, so first of all, a reminder that Theory Crafting is going to be on Thursday, June 26th, which if you're watching us live is a week from today. We will be participating. Edel will once again be theory casting on the main channel from noon to 8 Eastern, right? Edel, that's when you're doing that?
Correct.
They haven't gotten you to do the whole second shift yet. So
well, we just after like the first 1 or 2 times we were like going noon to midnight is unnecessary. So.
Yes. But Megasa and I will be on my stream, which is twitch.tv/wickedgoodfm. We will be on from 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific to midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific. So you will want to tune in to that. Usually by that point, everyone has figured out the broken decks, and we have not gotten to play, so we get destroyed for the first hour, and then we get our footing. So I'm sure that but it'll be entertaining nonetheless. We should have mega bundles to give away as well. Normally they give us 2 to give away, so we will hopefully have those as well. Usually we do 1 per half of the stream. So if you are looking for a mega bundle, my stream is not as popular as some of the popular streamers, so your odds are better. That's how math works.
Yep.
So do come in and hang out for that. Yeah, and we'll be advertising that in the Discord and on Blue Sky and everything else over the coming days. It'll be a lot of fun. It always is. So, and Edel usually joins us when she's done with the official gig. She'll hop on the phone and join and either co-op with us or be playing her own game in parallel because she's found something more interesting than whatever we're doing, which is also fine.
Usually that second one. Sort of like on the call, just like,
yes.
I need to maximize testing.
And then saying, wait, no, you've built that deck wrong. You have to build it this way.
Yes.
She's seen more things than we have by that point.
So yeah, do join us for that. Again, that's Thursday, June 26th, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. There is a Secret of Ongoro in-game event that is now live in the client. You have an opportunity to get 2 Sharp-Eyed Lookouts and a Lost City of Ongoro pack, and then 2 copies of Dissolving Ooze. With another pack, you get 2 golden copies of Sharp-Eyed Lookout with 2 tavern tickets, and then 2 golden Dissolving Oozes, 2 golden Blobs of Tar, and 2 more Lost City of Ongoro packs to close out the event. What is different about this one is that the daily events are not telling you what you need to do. They are giving you hints, and I wouldn't call these emojis. It's more like ASCII characters, I guess. I don't know what is happening here with the symbols. It's like wingdings that are there telling you what's happening. But they give you a hint. If you are just playing Hearthstone, you will probably clear these things.
They are things that you'll probably do anyway. If you really want to find out what it is freely available online, like Hearthstone had a breakdown of what all of them are. Other places will as well. So you can look it up if you want. You can try to figure it out. You don't have to play any like weirdly specific cards or anything like that.
Yeah. You're not having to go play Wild or play Standard when you're a Wild player or go play Battlegrounds for 3 hours or whatever. Like, it's none of that. It's like stuff, if you're playing Constructed, you will do it. Even if you're playing Battlegrounds, you'll probably do it. So yeah, don't worry about that. Just play. And if you really need to know, we're not going to spoil it here because some people do like trying to figure it out. But if you need to know, go online, you'll find out. So we do have some, well, for us, it's sad news. I don't know if I don't know that I would call it sad news for him necessarily because it's exciting for him. But Leah Robles, better known as Minty Fresh, who's been a friend of the show for quite a while, is leaving the Hearthstone team. He's not leaving Blizzard. He is actually moving over to Overwatch as a senior hero designer. That's also a game that he's played a lot of, and that's, one of his other dream jobs. I mean, obviously, if you spend a lot of time in multiple games, you'd want to work on both of them. So he's moving over to the Overwatch team. We wish him nothing but the best of luck. We are going to miss him and the cards that he's designed, but I mean, we can always jump in on his streams, which he still does from time to time. And I guess we could play Overwatch, but I don't have the hand-eye coordination to play Overwatch. That's probably not going to happen, but but we wish him well and hope that he is as impactful there as he was here.
I'm not an Overwatch person, so like for me, it's just like, oh man, bummer, because I really, really like Leo's work. I believe he did Festival of Legends was maybe the first one that he led.
And Great Dark Beyond, and I believe he was the lead for not this expansion, but the expansion after, the Time expansion, which obviously will get passed to someone else. And just a lot of silly cards, like the Rager that has Reborn and says Battlecry Die. That was a Leo special.
And I believe the thing on the rewards track now that is the 3-mana 3/3 destroy a minion, get its bones to your hand.
Yeah.
Yes, that was a Leo card as well.
So yes, we wish him all the best of luck. I mean, we're selfishly sad, but we're happy for him that he's getting to do the next big thing, and it's exciting for him. So we also have some shop updates, as we often do. 3 new skins that are in the shop. We have a Lord Ahun, I don't know.
I think it's just Ahun. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Lord Ahun bundle for Shaman, which is coming with a portrait, 5 Shaman packs, and a card back, which is very cool. It's very frosty, very very icy looking. There is a Felburn Hakar bundle for Hunter, which is $10 or 1,000 runestones. I should have said the Lord Ahuni bundle is $15 or 1,500 runestones. The Hunter bundle also comes with 5 Hunter packs, no card back. And then there's a Holy Fire Tyrion bundle for Paladin, which is also just comes with the portrait and 5 card packs for Paladin. For $9.99 USD or 1,000 runestones. So if those things sound interesting to you, go ahead and get into the shop for those. And I believe that is going to cover us for news. So we are going to, with no further ado, get right into the cards because boy, howdy, are there quite a few of them that we need to cover.
All right, so there have been a lot of reveals since last week. We will be covering Warlock, Hunter, Paladin, Death Knight, and Priest. As we're recording this, the last few Warrior cards have not quite yet been revealed, and Rogue has not yet been revealed. So we will talk about those after Theory Crafting, but we'll have plenty of time talking about these 5 classes already. So starting with Warlock, there's kind of a temporary cards theme, fell stuff, and then a few other miscellaneous cards. Let's start with the quest, Escape the Underfell. It says, play 6 temporary cards, reward Underfell Rift. The Underfell Rift is a 5-mana spell that opens a rift to the Underfell, which is like a puck on your board, I believe. Kind of like the Sargeras portal. You can throw a card in to the rift to summon 2 random fell beasts once per turn. So throwing a card in, you click on the rift itself on your board, and then you'll have, we don't know exactly what the UI will look like, but you'll be able to select a card from your hand to throw into it, basically discard into it. And it will summon 2 random fell beasts, and there are 3 possible fell beasts. Fell Screamer is a 5/3 rush lifesteal. Fell Raptor is a 4/4 charge elusive. Fell Horn is a 3/5 taunt reborn. They're all demon beasts. So those are pretty powerful minions. You do have to pay a card in order to get them, but you get 2 of them. And we have a lot of support for temporary cards. You can also get a Fell Beast through Deathrot Maw, which is a 6-mana 2/8 taunt Death Rattle summon a random Fell Beast.
I guess it's worth saying that, like, if you're putting a bunch of temporary cards or things that make temporary cards into your deck, you're probably going to have things that you're not going to play that turn that you can throw into the portal. So it's not as bad as it sounds having to chuck a card in to make the creatures,
Right.
but it is something that you do need to consider, that you are having to chuck something in to you have to give an offering to the rift in order to get the Felbeast.
Although it doesn't even sound like that bad an exchange to me, because summoning 2 of those is like quite powerful.
They are very powerful. Yeah.
And it's notable that so included in additional cards that can be played for the brawl, right? The pre-release brawl is the Snow Flurry elemental. It's the one that has miniaturized and gives you 2 temporary frost spells. So like that is great here, both for completing the quest and for later on, if it's like, okay, I play this, maybe I'm interested in playing one of the frost spells, but the other one not so much, and you just toss it in. So I think there'll be ample ways to like just sort of generate stuff to toss in.
And some of the other ways that we got in the set that you can generate temporary things, there is a 1-mana location tutor ability, Blood Petal Biome, discover a temporary 1-cost minion. We have Tunnel Terror, is a 3-mana 4/3 beast, Death Rattle, get 2 random temporary 2-cost minions. Cursed Catacombs is kind of interesting. 0-mana fell spell, discover a minion from your deck, make it temporary. But you get to see which one, not pick one that you don't want to play that turn. And Spelunker doesn't give you a temporary card, but it's a 2-mana 2/3 that says Battlecry, your next temporary card costs 2 less. So if you're going to play a temporary card that turn, he's basically a free 2-mana 2/3, or it doesn't say this turn, so that can carry forward until whenever you want to play a temporary card.
And I will say, like, this package that they've given you for temporary cards is deeply playable. like looking at all these, the blood petal biome, like 1-cost location that both takes like discover a temporary 1-cost minion, so like you're going to be able to play that thing and it doesn't influence your turn that much. Tunnel Terror, you play it on 3, and if it dies, you can just play both 2-cost minions on 4, so it curves very, very nicely. Like, the curve here is you quest on 1, turn 2, you play Blood Petal Biome and discover a temporary 1-cost minion and play it, or you play Spelunker if you want. And then turn 3, you play the Tunnel Terror, presumably it dies, and turn 4, you can play both of the random temporary 2-cost minions. There's some variation in effectiveness of early minions, but largely just having minions early is like pretty solid.
And I mean, like, knowing that you're actually going to be able to play the things for the most part is good, right? Like, I'm thinking of like we don't really have, I mean, we've had temporary cards be generated, but not like this per se, especially when you're like this volume of temporary cards. And like, so the closest analogy to this is really like there are cards in Magic that'll like exile the top of your deck and then you can play them until the end of this turn or into next turn. And sometimes you get those and it's like, oh, well, I have 2 mana and I just exiled a 7 mana card. Fantastic. It's just gone now. And that's very unlikely to happen here because you have a lot of control over what you're getting this temporary. So it's not even really that big of a deal. And like the only other card that actually says temporary that you can put into your deck is like that removal spell that has tradable. So if you're not going to play it that turn, you just whisk it away.
There's a few ways you can get temporary things from existing cards. So there's Deadline, tradable, temporary, destroy a minion. The Solarium is in core. 1 mana shadow spell, draw 3 cards. They are temporary.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yep.
Now that's a little riskier.
That's a wording change too, because those used to, I mean, it's the same effect, but they used to just be discarded at the end of the turn, which is really what it is. But yeah.
What's funny is that change happened because discard being a relevant thing was too powerful in Wild for like the discard decks. So they made it their temporary instead. And so now they get to sort of use that change that they did to reduce the power level of discard decks in Wild to now benefit this quest.
We also have Sketch Artist, Battlecry, draw a shadow spell, get a temporary copy of it. Hologram Operator is a Draenei, Battlecry, get 3 random temporary Draenei. It's a 2 mana 3/2. And then Clumsy Steward is a 3 mana 2/4. After any card is drawn, including your opponent's, make it temporary.
Yeah, that's coming out after like 1 day.
Yeah, that's probably not in it, but
I don't know. Like, honestly, there are enough people who just want to watch the world burn that I can see it because it does affect your opponent also. And it does draw removal. So it has a benefit to you, right? It doesn't affect you until your next turn. So it forces removal from your opponent. I don't actually hate it. It feels like that might be better than it seems at first glance. Like, yeah, you're gonna chuck some stuff, but I mean, you get to control a lot of times when you're drawing, unless somebody's playing like a paraglide or something to force you to draw a lot. And you probably are going to keep the curve on this fairly low to be able to get the quest done as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I mean, when I've had that like generated against me, I can't remember which deck it was that was generating 3 drops, I guess Spellmage. When they got one of those, it can actually be quite annoying as the opponent. They could get really lucky, you draw your win condition card, and now you just don't have it. But also, you know, I wanted to draw this turn, and now I can't, stuff like that. So it can actually mess up the opponent. It might be too much of a double-edged sword. Something that, you know, we mentioned that's not a double-edged sword, right, is the Cursed Catacombs. 0 mana, discover a minion from your deck, make it temporary. Like, as long as you want to play one of them, it costs you nothing to play this card.
I mean, I think that's probably just going in a lot of Warlock decks. It reminds me of the Druid card that was 0 cost dredge unless you can play the card that turn, in which case you draw it. It's not quite as good as that, but it's still pretty good. And you know, giving Warlock access to this is a little spooky.
Yeah. I mean, as long as your deck isn't full of like 8 and 9 drops, it's probably fine.
Right. But like you just need to hit one playable thing.
I mean, sometimes the playable thing is not the thing that you want to be playing that moment.
Then don't play the spell that turn. I don't know.
I mean, you're not playing it in a combo deck, I guess is what I'm saying, right? Because you could hit 3 combo pieces and then you're or 2 or like 1 combo piece and a bunch of like more expensive stuff that you can play or something like that.
You might just play it to find Ancient of Yore, though.
That might be fine.
Like, play Spelunker, the temporary card discounter, on 2, and then just Curse Catacombs on 3 and see what you get, and it's cheap, no matter what it is. It could be a Ancient of Yore on 3. Done. I don't, we're probably not playing Spelunker in decks that are not caring about temporary, but in decks that are caring about temporary, that could, it can cheat out a minion. And notably, it is a Fel spell, which is good for Caustic Fumes, a 4-mana Fel spell with destroy an enemy minion, kindred, deal 2 damage to all minions.
How many Fel spells are you running? Like, realistically, like, maybe I've just been hanging out with Mad-at-Arms too much, but like, they've been trying to do Fel Warlock since the beginning of time, and since they introduced spell schools, and we're not making fetch happen. So it's like, what are we doing? Like, what other... I'm actually opening it up right now just to see like what other Fel spells we have, because they're not... there aren't that many of them, and they're not great, really, if memory serves.
Hearthstone is the tradable, restore all damage your heroes taken. Health Drink, the lifesteal, deal 3 damage to a minion. It is a drink, which makes it better for kindred, but also it costs 3 mana, which is why it's never seen a ton of play. Infernal Stratagem, give a minion +3/+3. If it's a demon, your next one costs 2 less.
Let's talk about cards that exist.
Yeah, so it's Health Drink and Demonic Assault, right?
Yeah.
I guess the package would be either Curse Catacombs, Caustic Fumes, Health Drink, or Curse Catacombs, Caustic Fumes, Demonic Assault. I don't know. Those don't seem great. I mean, Health Drink can be reasonable, just in the sense that will give you multiple sort of instances of Fel spells that, like, you'll be able to play it a bunch of times and still maybe have one around when you want to have the kindred. But
if we still had sludges in standard, I'd be a little bit more excited about that, because all the sludges were Fel spells. Like, that was why we were running like the 1-drop that gave you a barrel of sludge when it died to be able to play a Fel spell in Rainbow Mage, right? So like, that would be a little bit more interesting. But like, if you're playing this as 4-mana destroy minion, which you're probably not, then it's fine. If you need to then do the 2 damage, I mean, it's also just like, even when you get the kindred off, it's kind of like, okay, it's not even all enemy minions, it's your stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. So there is another way to get the Fel spells. I'm not necessarily saying this is what we want to be doing, but there is another way in this set, which is Whispering Stone, a 5-mana 0/8 taunt, death rattle, get 2 random Fel spells that cost health instead of mana.
So I guess that gives you access to the Demon Hunter ones, which are actually usually playable, most of them. But like, I don't know. Like, I guess the I-Beam is neutral because it heals you after you pay the 3 mana for it, and maybe you only pay 1 if it's outcasted, if you're lucky to get that on the outside. I don't... Gosh. Because like, the Sigil of Cinder, Sigil of Skydiving, I-Beam, Warp Drive, and Workshop Mishap are what we're adding to the pool there. And those are fine. But you're also playing a 0/8 taunt, waiting for it to die, and then playing a Fel spell, and then playing the Caustic Fumes the next turn to get 2 damage to minions.
Yeah, it reminds me of the egg, right? The 5-cost egg with miniaturize, which is, I think, better than this. But it's this 5-cost thing. I think they made it 4 now, but that it has to die. It'll get you a copy of a big beast, or I guess any beast, discounted. This is just, yes, it has taunt and like more health, but it just feels like so much worse. And that egg was at times like hard to get down at 5, right? Like, there's a reason they reduced it to 4. Not seeing the vision on Whispering Stone.
You can Crazed Alchemist it, I guess.
No, it just dies.
I know, that's the
'Cause,
point. Then you get the fell spells right away.
Well,
yeah.
getting it killed is not really the problem.
Yeah, I know.
It's that, like, I don't know how
So
worth it
slow.
is that.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of things that seem slow, Story of Lakari is a 7-mana spell. I do like the art here. But it says at the end of your turn, discard a card and fill your board with 3/2 imps. Last 3 turns. This just seems like a lot of mana to fill your board with 3/2 imps.
Yeah, I mean, this is on theme because Lakari Sacrifice was a lot of work to never get the quest reward, and then by the time you get it, then your opponent ignores all of it and kills you. That is the Lakari Sacrifice experience. I opened 3 of them in Journey to Ungoro because that was the last set before we had duplicate protection, and I only got 1 pre-order, and like 3 of my 4 I got the 3rd one later, but like 2 of my 4 legendaries that I opened in all those packs were Lakari Sacrifice, and I tried like hell to make that card work, and it does not. Rogue will probably generate this occasionally, and good, that'll make them discard their cards so they can't generate more crap, right? Then I'm okay with that. But it's like I don't think that this is really worth, right? I mean, it's also like sometimes this is actively bad for you to fill your board with 3/2 imps when you want to play other stuff, right? I mean, I guess if you're hitting them for 18, it's not the end of the world, but
Yeah, it's a Zulok card, right? Like this is all right, my initial push didn't work. I'm down to top decks, and 1-drops are not gonna get me there. So,
That's true.
Your hand is probably empty anyway, so the discard doesn't matter in that deck. Yeah, that's fair.
And you can discard the second one, right? So you can run 2 of them. Just kind of figure like, hey, okay, this is 3 boards that you've got to deal with.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot more sense because aggro decks do sometimes end up in that just top decking mode in which you're playing 1 card anyway, so it might as well cost 7 mana. So, but there is one more card in this set that is really cool, which is Razadir, 4 mana 7/7 Demon Beast, legendary. Battle Cry, discard a random card from your hand, but Kindred your opponent's hand instead.
Yeah.
Oof.
This is gonna make some people annoyed.
It is.
I mean, it is a lot less consistent and a lot more work than Theotar was. Because I mean, Theotar is the obvious parallel. I think it's been long enough since he rotated out that we can speak his name without instinctively wincing. But you don't get to choose the card, right? You are effectively dirty ratting, except that it is hitting a wider range of cards because it's hitting anything in their hand, not just minions. And I mean, they can hit combo pieces that are spells, so that's fair also. But it's probably more relevant that it's a 4 mana 7/7 than it is that it's discarding 1 card from your opponent's hand, but it's fine, right? Like, it's probably not going to work out the way that people think that it's going to work out, but it's still gonna tilt the opponent, which is probably most of the battle cry value, more than anything else.
It's a 4 mana 7/7 with upside. Like,
yeah, it'll see play.
Like you can run it in, a lot of zoo things because beast or demon is like a pretty good place to be in terms of activating Kindred. If you're in the temporary deck, Tunnel Terror is a beast. There's a lot of demons you can get in Warlock, particularly if you're going aggro, right? Flame Imp, etc. So
you'll also get offered this from Kill Jaden, a non-trivial amount of time, and it's always going to be live at that stage.
That's true. I don't really want to think about that, but if you're doing Dark Gift stuff, right? Like the 3-cost beast curves nicely into this, and maybe even you play the Creature of Madness or whatever on 2, and you can specifically try and discover a beast or a demon, right? Curve into Razadir. So I feel like this is going to be active basically all the time. And yeah, sometimes it will hit and sometimes it won't, but all times it will be a 4 mana 7/7.
Yeah.
If we ever end up with pain stuff again, a lot of the pain stuff is demons. Pretty aggressive demons. Sacrificial Imp. Relentless Wrathguard is one we haven't seen a lot of play, but Observer of Mysteries, Nightmare Lord Xavius is 4 mana, so it doesn't curve nearly as nicely, but like that's a card you're probably running anyway. Eridar Brute is a demon. There are definitely options.
Yeah.
And 4 mana 7/7 with upside that tilts your opponent. People are going to figure out how to play this.
Yep.
All right. Well, that is all the cards in the Warlock set. I do think the temporary is a really cool theming for Warlock.
Yeah.
It's like the discard, but doesn't make wild worse. And also doesn't, it's less risky, I think, for a lot of these, except maybe for Solarium, maybe hitting something you don't want it to hit.
Yeah. And it's unexplored territory, I mean, which is appropriate for an Ungoro set. But it's something that we haven't really seen before. Like, we've seen temporary cards, but we haven't seen temporary matters has not been a thing that we've seen yet. So it is a pretty cool design space that they haven't gone into that we're getting to try for the first time. So that is pretty cool, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can scoot along to Hunter here. Hunter has a kind of odd attack beast quest. We'll start with that, and then also a very cool other legendary that I have a lot of ideas for. But starting with the quest, we have the Food Chain, which says play a 1, 3, 5, and 7 attack beast. Reward Shock. Shock Jungle Tyrant is a dinosaur, obviously. Everything here is dinosaurs. A 5 mana 9/9 beast with Rush, Battle Cry, get a random 8, 6, and 4 attack beast. Set their costs to 2.
This is Count Von Count's favorite quest, is what this is.
We got a lot of odd attack beasts to go with it. Tarrowing Ravager is a 6 mana 7/5 rush. Kindred costs 2 less. That's just always going to be active because you're playing Hunter. Ravasar Matriarch, 4 mana 5/4 beast. Kindred, deal damage to an enemy minion equal to this minion's attack. Grazing Stegodon's kind of interesting. A 3 mana 0/5 beast, but at the end of your turn, gain +1 attack, even while in hand or deck. Or on the board, just anywhere. It's always getting +1 attack.
And he's also adorable, by the way. That's
cute.
Important.
Yes. Dino Sitter's not a beast, but 2 mana 2/3 at the end of your turn, reduce the cost of a random beast in your hand by 1. Oh, and another way to get odd attack beasts here is Story of Carnassa, which is a 2 mana spell. Shuffle 10 1-cost 3/2 raptors into your deck with Battlecry, draw a card. We had mentioned that in the announcement. But they have 3 attack. When I first was looking at this quest, I was like, that doesn't seem like the greatest reward. But when I was trying to build a deck for it, it's not that hard to get odd attack beasts in your deck. I almost found 1 attack was one of the harder ways. And then having some potentially large beasts that are cheap that you can just all play at once, along with this 9/9 rusher, for a more sort of pressuring Hunter deck, not necessarily like straight aggro, but pressuring. I think that might actually be good enough, because I think, stuff like the Territar Ravager having 7 attack means you don't necessarily need to pay a ton of mana for your 7 attack beast.
And you do have like Jewel Macaw, which is in core, like Battlecry, add a random beast to your hand, 1 mana 1/2. You've got Pet Parrot, which is a 2 mana 1/1 repeat the last 1-cost card you played. So those are just in Hunter. Like in neutral, we've gotten Platosaur is a new card. 1 mana 1/2 Battlecry, draw a card, Death Rattle, discard it. You've got Scarab Keychain, which is a 1 mana 1/1. Adaptive Amalgam's a 1 mana 1/2.
Wow.
You have Ancient Stegodon is a 3 mana 1/5 Battlecry. Choose to gain taunt, poisonous, or +1/+1.
Yeah, I hadn't looked at that. Yeah.
You could play Octomasus, 4 mana 1/8, deals octuple damage to minions. We can make it happen. You could live the dream. But there are options here, right? So it's not, and I mean, you could even, if you really wanted to get spicy, you could run Card or Sleeper in that deck too to get your 3 attack out of the way if you really wanted to. I don't think that's the way we want to go, but that's something you could do. I mean, you've also just got like Rustdraw Viper, Marshland Thresher, 3 mana 3/3 after you cast a spell, gain Divine Shield. Life Drinker is still in core. Fire Plume Phoenix is a beast, and that's in core. 4 mana, 3/4 Battlecry, deal 3 damage. You know, you could play the Mutating Life Form. It starts as a 3/8. Scale High Kodo is a 6 mana, 3/6 Battlecry, destroy the lowest attack enemy minion and Kindred the highest attack instead. We didn't talk about that from neutrals, but that's another option too.
Something they put in the Brawl was Painted Canvasaur. 2 mana, 3/2 beast, Battlecry, give each other friendly beast a random bonus effect, which if you have like a bunch of raptors from the Story of Karnassa, that could potentially be good. One thing I hadn't mentioned yet, another way to get odd attack beasts is the spell Odd Map. For 1 mana, discover an odd attack beast. If you play it this turn, also pick one of the others. So that can help fill out whatever you haven't gotten yet. And Torga, the legendary we talked about last week that draws a Kindred card, and another card that activates it, that is not odd attack. It is a beast, but it'll draw you like the Terrawing. The Kindred costs 2 less with 7 attack, for example. So that's another way to, if you're relying on that, you have something to draw it with Torga. I think there's potentially, you know, I built a theory crafting quest hunter and just went like all beasts, playing fetch, and we're just like trying to pressure. And I even was like, what if we have all beasts and we put in Master's Call? I don't know that that's correct, but just trying to attack as quickly as possible. I mean, I'll, you know, wait and see what CDC does. And
yeah, it is also worth mentioning that like if you've gotten your 1 and 3 out of the way and you're like trying to find a 5 or a 7, you can play Supreme Dinomancy, which is a 5 mana spell, give +2/+2 to all beasts in your hand, deck, and battlefield. So that can kind of help you if you're having trouble closing the quest out. Like you've got a 5, you've got 2 5s, or you haven't hit a 5, but you've got an extra 3. You can play that and then bounce all of your beasts up to the next tier to cover whatever attack you're missing, and then be able to close it out.
Yeah.
And it's also a Savage Roar.
Yes, and it's also a Savage Roar.
I imagine this, if it works, as being just a pretty solid aggro deck of beasts that sometimes you complete the quest when you run out of stuff and Shock gives you more stuff. Like, just trying to get the reward, Shock is not that good. Like, they are random beasts of certain attacks, and then you set their cost to 2. They don't have charge. I
mean, they could.
The closest is like the recent 8-cost one that like cleaves things, and yeah, I just don't see that really being that powerful as like a thing that just you. And in general, the quests that we've seen are not like, I do this and then I'm gonna win the game, right? It's like I do this and then I get a like reasonably decent power spike. What I want to do in Hunter is the old quest and basically just run, you know, double Story of Karnassa, double Supreme Dinomancy, and just like try and create some kind of deck that capitalizes on that, right? Where you just are like, I make a board of raptors that are huge because of Supreme Dinomancy, and maybe Neri, who we'll get to, because they can double
and bird watching.
Yeah, and bird watching.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, bird watching. Oh yeah, yeah. Like you can just get really, really large raptors, and make sure you hit them if you're a deck of like mostly spells. I don't know if this is like a Discover package deck, probably.
Oh yeah, then you get more of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should talk about Neri real quick, and then I actually did try to build this. So Neri is a 3 mana 2/5 legendary. Whenever you play a 1-cost minion, double its stats. Whenever you cast a 1-cost spell, cast it twice. The things from Story of Karnassa are 1-cost 3/2 raptors that become 6/4 raptors if you play it while she's out, for example. So if you do play something like Arcane Shot with Neri, it will target the same target twice, kind of like how it works with Tyrande. So you could play Neri and then Arcane Shot will do 4, another Arcane Shot will do 4. But I'm really excited for her for like doubling the stats of minions.
Well,
yeah.
Tracking also is relevant with Neri.
Tracking and fetch.
Fetch.
Yeah. Fetch also, but like especially if you're doing Discover things already, like tracking getting doubled with Neri is probably going to be the biggest payoff for that from the spell side. But yeah, just like whatever 1-cost minions you're playing, and you're probably playing this with Story of Carnassa because that's going to be the best thing you can do. You get a bunch of 6/4s out of that, draw you cards. That seems pretty good if you're doing that.
Yeah, you can have like Jungle Gym in it potentially, was one thing I was looking at. I put in the Discover package. I put in Grifta, because if you get the deal 6, or really anything, she'll double it.
Yeah, she's gonna be a problem in Wild, isn't she? With like any spell damage.
Yeah.
Like
That's
any
okay.
spell damage, and you just like do all the 1-cost burn spells, particularly arcane ones.
This is probably what you need for Hunter to be good in Wild, so it's fine. Like Hunter, if it's not like Odd Hunter, it struggles a lot, right? So I'm not worried about Hunter being too powerful in Wild all of a sudden because of
Oh
card
yeah,
like that.
goes in Odd Hunter. There you go.
Yeah, well, that does go in Odd Hunter, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even not concerned about Wild. There's very real potential that like if Hunter gets any kind of access to like spell damage and like a few 1-cost damage spells, it's like suddenly a little spooky.
And there's probably some sort of a meme deck that involves playing Neri and then cycling adaptive amalgams back through the deck repeatedly in order to just get the stats on it to double over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not smart enough or deranged enough to try to build it, but I'm sure that something like that exists, that somebody's already cooking up.
I mean, maybe you just do that, and mainly you're doing Story of Carnassa.
Yeah.
But you just, because you have some buff stuff, you also have adaptive amalgam in there. She will also double the muscle drinks, the +1/+1 in your hand.
Cup of muscle, yeah. That's actually pretty good.
Oh dear.
Oh yeah. So there's your deck. Okay, we did it. So you play Neri, you play Cup of Muscle on the adaptive amalgam, and then you play the adaptive amalgam and double the stats, and then you just have gigantic adaptive amalgams, and that's and then somehow profit.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So we'll leave that as an exercise to the reader, I suppose, or the listener in that case. But yeah.
Or you can tune into Theory Crafting and see what people are doing with it.
Yes. We'll leave that to Sidisi, though. We'll have priest decks to play. So
we are getting there.
The only one we didn't touch on is Cower and Fear, 2 mana spell, deal 3 damage to a minion. Next beast you play this turn costs 2 less. If we're doing beast things, it just seems like decent removal. That's fine. It's nothing exciting. Yeah. It's there.
It's Bone Spike, right? Yeah. The rogue card, worse than Bone Spike, but basically
it's Bone Spike at home. Yeah. So
yes,
it's Milk Bone Spike, I suppose. Well, let's move on. Yeah, that's not even worth acknowledging. Let's move on.
not making it to the. I now have 2 YouTube shorts of Wicked's dad jokes and Edel's reactions to Wicked's dad jokes.
Yeah.
Oh no,
that one was not my best work, though. To be fair, so
yeah, that one may not make the cut.
I was not privy to the fact that it was my reactions were part of this. I thought it was just the jokes.
No, the reactions are the best part. That's the whole reason that's the reason that I do them. I'm not just doing them for my own benefit.
Oh, what have we become?
This is what we have to do for YouTube clicks, That's it.
Yeah.
We've sold ourselves out to social media now.
I also did one where we were just explaining about how Maxi played Mill Warlock, and you shouldn't. Do not do this at home. It's still the very bottom, of the HS Guru meta tier list.
Yeah.
All right. But hopefully not to be at the very bottom of the HS Guru meta tier list, we have Paladin. So Paladin got a big Murloc package, as well as some Holy Spell synergy. But we will, as usual, start with the quest. Dive the Golakka Depths. It is a repeatable quest. Summon 5 Murlocs. Reward Murlocs you summon, gain +1/+1. So the way this works is, unlike the other quests, which give you something to your hand that you then have to play, this just automatically happens. So every time you summon 5 Murlocs, any future Murlocs that you summon will gain +1/+1, not like ones that are already on the board. But this can even happen in the middle of a card resolving. So if you have a card summoning multiple Murlocs and the first one triggers the quest, it will give you the reward, reset, and then the next Murloc that same card summons will have the +1/+1, or +2/+2 if you've already done this, etc. So This was revealed by friend of the show, Blister Guy, from the Walk to Work podcast. Adorable video, as always. But in that video, it was summon 6 Murlocs. It has been buffed since he made the video and will be released at summon 5 Murlocs.
I'm surprised because this strikes me as absurd. Like, just bonkers good. This is a win condition quest, unlike most of the ones we've seen so far. Because it just keeps going. And like it's just they all get the bonus. They're just all big forever and continue to gain stats. And there's support for it. Like
and if they're adaptive amalgam, it just builds up even more. And you can tutor adaptive amalgam with, for example, Red Scale Dragon Tamer, which is a Murloc that Death Rattle draw a dragon, which adaptive amalgam is technically.
True. So it can be the only dragon in your deck. Yeah. Like, I don't think you even need to have that, but I mean, why not? It is a Murloc. It's just the last time Paladin had Murlocs, unless I'm missing something, it was really, really good. It was a while ago.
But the difference is that it's not easy to summon like mass quantities of Murlocs. You're having to put cards into your deck for the most part. Like Mermy counts for 2, right? You've got like Gnawing Greenfin that gives you a random Murloc. Steam Fin Thief is a new card in the set, which is a 4-mana 4/3 Murloc with Kindred summon 2 1/1 Murlocs with Rush. That's probably going to be the best hit for you. And then you've also got Primal Fin Challenger with Battlecry. Your next Kindred triggers twice, which is kind of the Yahtzee of that particular scenario. But like otherwise you're doing and Grunty. You can play Grunty. Like this is the one use case for Grunty where Grunty triggers the quest all on his own. Because if you've forgotten what Grunty is, I don't blame you. It's an 8-mana 3/4 with Battlecry, summon 4 random Murlocs, then shoot them at enemy minions. You pick the targets, right? So Grunty on its own with sufficient board space triggers the entire quest on its own. But otherwise, you're playing a Murloc at a time, right? You're not resurrecting them. You're not summoning them en masse. So it is going to be kind of capped just by the number of cards that you have in your deck for the most part.
Yeah. We have Tyrannogil, 6-mana 6/3 Murloc Beast, Rush, Death Rattle, summon 3 2/1 Murlocs with a random bonus effect each.
Okay, yeah, that's probably going to be that's the other one. Yeah.
He is a Murloc Beast, so that's 4.
And maybe one of those gets reborn as the bonus effect or something. And is that a bonus effect? I don't even think. No, I don't think it is, right? Oh, it is.
Yeah,
okay.
it is.
So maybe one of those gets reborn, and that's an extra one. But that's going to be you're not going to count on that.
Also, Submerged Map. Discover a Murloc. If you play it this turn, also pick one of the others. That's 2 Murlocs in 1 card.
Yeah. But you're going to run out of those, right? Like, there's going to be an upper limit. Like, maybe you end up with, like, +5, +5, +6, +6 at the end of this, which is not nothing.
I mean, look, Murloc Paladin was good at a time when it was reliant on War Leader being, the big payoff. And I think the Dinosaur, right, that adapted your Murlocs, right?
Yeah.
So that was all around, like, you play the Murlocs and they stick in play. You did have a 1-mana 1/3 that turned your hero power into making Murlocs, and that was part of it. But largely it was just, you summon a bunch of Murlocs and then you have a payoff in the form of War Leader and Stegodon. That was good. And now you don't need the War Leader or the Adapt. It's just like you play this thing on turn 1. Like you sacrifice a card in your hand and a turn 1 play, which is not nothing. That's a big deal for an aggro deck. But the fact that you're exchanging it for just a passive, I keep doing what I want to do and my minions keep getting bigger. And you can then, run top-end things like Tyrannogil and Grunty. I mean, I'm just happy that Grunty has a definitive home here.
Yes.
That makes me happy.
There's a reason for him to exist other than being a meme, which is good for him. He's living his best life. But
yeah.
I mean, it's also worth mentioning that, like, when Murloc Paladin was oppressive in the past, it's because it had things like anything can happen or tip the scales in them, which we don't have anything like that in this deck. So
That's not definitively true. Like before there was the combo thing, just aggro Murlocs was a very honest aggro deck that was really good at just carving out and killing you.
yeah.
We still have Crusader or a Brain Gill. Battle card, give all friendly Murlocs Death Rattle, draw a card. Is like composting was for aggro Druid back when that was a card. Like that suddenly becomes really powerful. If you get that on an adaptive amalgam, then forevermore it will have Death Rattle, draw a card.
Yep.
I made a version of this with a little bit of like, we're giving adaptive amalgam rush and then like drawing it again with plucky paint fin, which is probably a little too cute. I forgot to put grunty in it, which is a big oversight, and I will change that. Or theory crafting.
Also, new card, 3-cost spell, Ready the Fleet. Give +1/+2 to a friendly minion and your other minions that share a type with it.
Yeah, that is kind of gross. That's fair. Yeah.
Yep. Anytime that you've stuck a board, right? You have that. Or if it's a little bit later, you pair it with something like the Steam Fin Thief that summons Murlocs with Rush.
But also, I mean, I sort of imagine like that and some other things as like avenues for things besides Murlocs, because for the Murlocs, you can sort of just run the quest, and that's probably gonna be enough for you in the buffing your minions department. You probably still run Crusader Aura, because that's just an insane card.
I do like that Ready the Fleet says other minions that share a type, such that in the future, this is not just a Murloc card, right? It could, if we have a mech paladin or something, then Ready the Fleet has another use case.
But also, like, this is probably what an aggressive quest needs to look like in order to be viable, right? Because we've already talked in the last episode about how the problems with trying to make an aggressive quest, because you're giving up a card in the mulligan and you're giving up your turn 1 play to play it. So this feels like it has to be this powerful, and the fact that they had to buff it kind of speaks to that, right? In order to make an aggressive quest worth playing, because you're doing this instead of just playing your turn 1 minion and getting off to the races on turn 1. You're deliberately slowing yourself down a turn, and that needs to be made up for in a big way later on in order to justify that lack of speed at the beginning of the game.
We do have a lot of draw in this deck, I think. We have some ways, like Rock Skipper gives you a 1-cost rock that deals 3 damage, helps you retake board a little bit. Because in aggro mirrors, losing turn 1 is pretty big, but there are some ways to get back on it. Something like the Hot Spring Glider helps you gain back a lot of tempo. Battlecry, your next Murloc, costs 2 less, Kindred, and gains Divine Shield. Like you can curve that straight into Tyrannogill, for example. But yes, it does need to be powerful for turn 1, turn 2 plays, and having cards in your hand is important for aggro decks.
There's going to be silly turns also where you go Hot Spring Glider, make that next Murloc cost 2 less. That Murloc is Violet Treasure Gill, 2 mana 1/2 Murloc. Battlecry, cast a random spell from your deck that costs 2 or less. Something like Hand of a Doll, for instance.
Yeah.
And it targets Violet Treasure Gill if possible. Importantly, there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Though I guess that means you're not playing a quality in this deck, which you probably aren't anyway, but sometimes the aggro decks do play a quality to try to break through taunts.
That is going way back, Wicked. That is equality avenging wrath days, right? Where you would
Oh man. That's good stuff though. I mean,
yeah, that's not enough anymore.
We have buffed rushers. That's how we're getting through taunts.
Yeah. I guess if that's how we have to do.
You know, we have Tyrannogill. We have, we could run something that's not a Murloc like Sandcastle that then buffs our adaptive amalgams if we are wanting to have stuff that goes later. And
that can also cast Story of Galvadon on itself too. Give a minion about 3 random bonus effects that cost 2. So that's something that you could end up casting with the Violet Treasure Gill.
Yep.
In addition to just like Divine Brew, I guess. I guess if it casts Divine Brew from your deck, you still get the other ones in your hand after that, right? That's like part of the cast resolving. Okay.
Yeah, just like when Fire casts the Magma Drink.
Right.
You get that in your hand unless your hand is already full because Fire filled it with other stuff.
Yeah.
So there's also a sort of holy spells theme in a few of these Paladin cards. So for example, the other legendary Ido of the Thresh Fleet is a 4-mana 2/7. While this is alive, you get a 2-cost holy spell that gives a minion +2/+2 and Divine Shield. So that works like Svalna used to work if you've been playing long enough. While she's alive, you have a spell in your hand. When you cast it, it like appears in your hand again.
In the same position.
In the same position. Like a drink. It's like a drink that runs out of uses as soon as she dies, but not until then.
Yeah, this is intense. 2/7's like pretty big on a 4-cost. So, assuming you're doing this in something more aggressive, it's reasonable to like run this out on curve and not expect it to die right away. But also just being able to like, if you run it out on 6 as a 4/9 Divine Shield, and then anything that allows it to stay and you can just keep going in. Seems good.
If you paired it with the guy that makes the Divine Shields take 3 hits to break.
Oh god.
Well, I mean, this is like the like fancy craft brewery version of Divine Brew, right? That's basically what this is, because Divine Brew is 1 mana, give it well, it doesn't give attack anymore, but now it just gives Divine Shield. Now this is 2 mana, give a minion Divine Shield and +2/+2, and it goes back in your hand. You can keep doing as much as you want, like, and it's more expensive, like craft brews are. So, that seems pretty good. And it still works with Linessa. So, yeah, that's a thing.
So if you sticker, or you just have tons of coins.
Yeah.
Unlike the brews now, it does give attack.
Which may be why they nerfed it, because like that and this is a lot all in the same deck at the same time. Like, even if it wasn't... I mean, it was already good, and it probably was going to be way too good if you also could have this at the same time, right? So,
also, from what I have not been seeing Drunk Paladins, but like stats wise, it's still doing really well. So,
yeah,
even with that nerf, I think people just took the excuse to want to play something else in the last month before the expansion comes out. For other things that care about holy spells, though, we have Creature of the Sacred Cave. Is a 4-mana 2/5 beast. It almost looks like a dragon in the art, but it's not.
It's a sea monster.
It is a sea monster. That is true. I don't know why I missed that. Anyway, it says at the end of your turn, recast a random holy spell you cast this turn. Targets this if possible. So if you've stuck one of these things, then Creature of the Sacred Cave will duplicate, say, the +2/+2 in Divine Shield, which makes it harder to kill, which makes it more likely to do that again. And or gives it sort of soft taunt. You could also do that with Thresh Rider's Blessing. 5 mana, give a friendly minion +4/+4 and Death Rattle, summon a random 4-cost minion. That is also holy. You'd probably have to stick the Creature of the Sacred Cave unless you're doing this really late. But getting 2 of that is a lot.
This is not as good as Spike Ridge Steed, which was in the original Ungoro, but it's probably about as good as we could expect, because Spike Ridge Steed was a stupid card.
Spike Ridge Steed is in core right now.
Is it really?
It is.
It is.
It's not a holy spell, though.
No, it's not. Thank God. Yeah.
I mean, it demonstrates sort of how power shifts, right? Spike Ridge Steed obviously has not been seeing any play right now, because it's just...
I have seen it. So I saw it when Imbue Druid was Ascendant. A Paladin was playing that because Imbue Druid had no way to deal with it, except for just slowly go through it.
And then they realized that Tortola exists, and that's just a better way to do what they were trying to do. Yeah.
Well, different class.
Yeah.
But,
no, I know, but that's just a better deck that they could be playing if they just wanted to say, screw you, Imbue Druid, rather,
Yeah, fair enough. I could see this holy spell thing also being something that builds up over multiple sets.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it always does, right? And eventually it'll get too good and they'll have to do something about it. But for right now, it's fine.
If we get anything that is like neutral or paladin weapon tutor, then Librams are a thing again.
Yeah. I mean, even just getting like a second life-saving aura is pretty good. if that's what you're looking for.
There is a Libram Paladin that's doing well right now on Aegis Guru. It's a light bot Linessa deck, but it also has all the Librams in it. And if you have a 0-cost Libram of Divinity, and then you cast that again, now you have 2 of them in your hand that are 0-cost, plus maybe you have the last one, so now you have 3 of them in your hand.
Oh god, if you somehow stick the Creature of the Sacred Cave, which isn't unreasonable given that it's already like a 4-mana 2/5, and then you play Crusader's Aura the next turn, that is a holy spell that it will recast.
Oh, yeah. Huh. Okay.
Yeah, there are some good holy spells to recast.
Resistance Aura.
Yeah,
We
Resistance
did it.
Aura is another one, right? So
Yeah.
it's there's some stuff for a Creature of the Sacred Cave to hit. Like, it's not nothing. I mean, the only one that would probably be bad would be Holy Glow Sticks because it's going to hit itself. But even then, that's probably not terrible if you just need the healing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm imagining a world where you like turn 5, go this, give it Divine Shield, probably in a situation where you've been playing stuff the first few turns, right? But yeah, and then that opens you up to be able to do something like double Crusader Aura or double Resistance Aura or whatever. But yeah.
Or even, you can double Resistance Aura with it on 6. If you're Imbue Paladin, Dragon Scale Armaments twice is not terrible, and then they have to kill it or you do worse things.
Or Aegis of Light imbues you twice and gets you 2 1 drops, which also is not terrible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a reasonable turn 5 to go Creature of the Sacred Cave and Aegis of Light. Like, that's fine. You're happy with that.
Yeah, lots of flexibility there, right?
Yeah, especially because the taunts then protect it, and then that makes it more likely that you can drop something more substantial like a Crusader Aura the following turn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that card is sneaky powerful. But yes, shall we move on?
Yep.
To Death Knight, which I feel like I should give over this to Edel.
Yes!
Introduce the Death Knight.
Death Knight! So, we all saw with the release stuff, Reanimate the Terror, which is the quest. That is their one nod to Blood Unholy. It is specifically those things, so you can't do this in your Vampiric Blood deck, haha. But yeah, it gives you spend 18 corpses, reward, Tyrax Bone Terror, Death Rattle. You get the location, right? And that kind of goes infinite. Nice little quest. But after that nod, this is a Frost set. So we've got Cryosleep, deal 4 damage and draw a card for 4 mana, double Frost. Kindred, draw another. Bone Chill Stegodon, 6 mana, 6/3 Undead Beast, Death Rattle, deal 6 damage to 3 random enemies. So that works both with Frost things and with Death Rattle things. Maybe this plus the Pirate is enough to have sort of a density of like Death Rattle stuff to trigger.
Freebooter.
Yeah. We don't have Yodeler anymore, right? But being able to like give them Reborn and stuff is still
it's gross.
Still a lot for like the double Frost 1 Unholy sort of situation. Because there's not really reason to go triple Frost right now. Like Frostram's Fury just is not that good at the moment. But we've also got Crypt Map, 1 cost spell. Discover a Frost Rune card. If you play it this turn, also pick one of the others. I really dig the maps because a 1-mana tax to just like get extra stuff is not so bad.
Yeah.
This is a card for everything. 5 cost, 4/3 Undead Beast, Rush, Lifesteal, costs corpses instead of mana.
And when you say when you say everything, you mean every Death Knight ever is going to run this card, most likely.
Yeah, as long as you can get enough corpses. There are situations where like a controlling Death Knight is going to have some tough choices because it's hard to spend corpses on like this and Corpse Explosion. But yeah, it's really good, right? You can run this in the aggressive stuff, and it's just like a free body. You run it in hand buff Death Knight, and that's really good. Because like once you get through the early game with hand buff Death Knight, you're not really using your corpses anymore. So, and yeah, the fact that it's undead and beast, like that's just very powerful.
and has no rune requirement.
You also get offered these from Headless Horseman.
Truth. Yes, that is true.
It's good for Kindred because it's free
Yep.
in terms of mana.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then legendary besides the quest, High Cultist Heron, battle 8 mana, 8/6, battle cry, summon 2 death rattle minions from your deck. They fight. So we had I want to say Demon Hunter card that was
Proving Grounds.
Yeah, Proving Grounds. That became a thing at some point. That was minions, period. So you had to run all big stuff. This, because it specifies death rattle, like it's a tough sell to not run Dreadhound Handler, although maybe even you don't mind and you still run Dreadhound Handler. But like getting to pull out Bone Chill Stegodon and something else is pretty good. We still have the 6 mana 2/2 taunt death rattle summon an 8 cost minion. So like maybe that goes in there.
I mean, Starship Death Knight's probably still going to be a thing, right? And that's going to be the most obvious use case for this.
Yeah, right. That pulls
Defense Crystal and the 3-drop that death rattle summon a minion of its cost, so or its attack.
Yeah. So lots and lots of use for that. It does cost 8, so it's not like, I don't know, it's not like insane powerful, but I think it's pretty good.
If you have death rattles that you need to get dead, right? That's kind of like if like in the start, then that's why the Starship use case is probably one of the most likely, because you need those to die to advance your game plan. So if you haven't found them by 8, then you're tutoring them out of your deck and getting them onto the board and hopefully getting them killed. I mean, obviously Arcanite Defense Crystal's probably not going to die unless you have something bigger, but certainly the 3-drop will. And then you're getting them into the Starship and getting that so that you can, do your XRR things or whatever you're doing with your Starship at that point.
Yeah. Another one that's available to everything. It's runeless. 3 cost 1/1 Reluctant Wrangler Reborn and Death Rattle. Summon a 2/2 Undead Beast with Taunt. I don't know where I'm at on this one.
The beast is cute.
It does not have taunt itself. I'm imagining this in the kind of deck that's like, I want to play Buccaneer on 2 and for my opponent to be scared of that. Actually, no, this already has Reborn.
Yeah, it already has Reborn. You don't even need to play Buccaneer with it.
Yeah.
It is 4 corpses.
It is 4 corpses.
Sort of slowish.
Yeah. Maybe it's just worth it because it's a lot of corpses. We've seen previously how that can just be a potent thing. But because it is a 3 mana 1/1, that has me a little like, is this worth it? And no minion type itself.
Yeah, I mean, it does help threads get going, presumably, just by being a one health minion on the board.
You always pull it to like something not aggressive. That's 6 cost
it's a
with
3
threads.
mana 1/1. Excuse me. It's pulling itself to something not aggressive.
Well, no, because with threads is just like super slow. It's about the stuff it summons.
Hey, I got you to play Aviana Priest this week. I'm feeling I'm so in my wild oats. Just let me live my best life right now. Okay?
Yeah, I guess it summons an undead beast, right? So that's sort of minion types for things, and
yeah, but those don't count for Kindred, right? Because you're not playing them.
But they count for Jug.
They count for Menagerie.
They count for Menagerie. Okay, yeah.
And we have a new neutral Menagerie card. Like we didn't talk about the neutrals so much before, but there are a few. The main one, like Tortolan Storyteller, 2 mana 1/2, end of your turn, give +1/+1 to each friendly minion of a different type. So Menagerie is definitely a thing that's being considered. So
one thing to note on Cryosleep, the deal 4 damage and draw a card, Kindred, draw another. It's a frost spell. Frost spell and frost runes are not the same thing.
Correct.
Easy to confuse. So if you played a, say, Crypt Map the turn before, that has frost runes, but it is not a frost spell. Kindred cares about the spell school. It has to say frost on the bottom, otherwise it will not proc the Kindred for Cryosleep.
But also Corpsicle exists. So
yeah. No, you can totally do this. Just, it's a mistake I have definitely seen opponents make.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And then, yeah, real quick, last ones. You've got a couple 1 Frost, 1 Unholy Rune cards. Dread Raptor, 4-mana 3/4 Undead Beast. Battlecry, draw Death Rattle minion that costs 3 or less. Specifically, Kindred, it costs 0. So maybe that's how we're getting Reluctant Wrangler out. Is you run the Dread Raptor and just like get it out for free.
Or Starship Pieces.
That's true. It does too to Starship Pieces. That would be a very different kind of Starship deck.
It would be a different Starship deck, yes.
For the freebooter, if we're comboing that with Bone Chill Stegodon, that gives you a 0-mana freebooter. You don't have to play right away.
That's true. Yeah.
That makes it easier to get out later. And freebooter is an undead. Bone Chill Stegodon's an undead. Pretty easy to get a bunch of undeads.
Yeah. And then 4 cost, again, Frost Unholy Rune. Spell, Wave of Tar. Deal 2 damage to all enemy minions. And then enemy minions cost 2 more next turn. This is just going to hose, like, very specific decks.
Probably the Murloc deck. It's going to host the Murloc deck quite a bit, I would imagine. Or like any rogue ever, basically.
That'll get you to play Death Knight.
It will. That's enough. That's all I need. Wave of Tar, new best friend. Happy. Yep. Play that, and I'll play Customs Enforcer, and I'll just be super happy.
Like, the AoE isn't that much damage, so like you kind of need minions in play to finish stuff off or something. But if you're playing Unholy Frost, that's probably not that hard. But yeah, it seems like powerful for just like pushing. And even just, against some control things, if you're like, well, I know they're going to be wanting to play, this minion this turn. So I'll Wave of Tar to do a little burn damage and, I guess not burn it because it's only minions, but
it's just minion, yeah.
But it helps you keep board. It is a skill testing card that helps you make sure that they don't build a counterboard next turn or they don't do their big swing turn with a minion if you know that it's a particular type of deck. Might make it harder for like a Protoss mage to do their Protoss mage thing, or the Aviana priest. It's like, all right, I finally got my Aviana discounted. Too bad for you, you're waiting another turn. That's probably not what you're usually seeing, but there's lots of decks that rely on a minion on a turn.
Like, Resistance Aura is annoying, right? And like, yeah, this is only one turn, but like, that throws you off a lot. And then it is impactful just having to spend 2 more mana for a deck that cares about minions a lot, which a number of them probably are going to with the cards that we're seeing.
Last and probably least, 3 mana Shadow Spell, Paleomancy, discover an undead, spend 5 corpses to keep all 3 instead. Like,
sure,
maybe hand buff DK, but it strikes me as the kind of thing that you sometimes discover off of something else. It'll be probably pretty solid in Arena, but
I mean, that's for the quest, right? I mean, that's just like, it says spend 5 corpses on it. So if you want to spend corpses for the quest, then that's a way to do it.
Yeah, but also there's Corpse Explosion.
I mean, yes, but also sometimes you don't have a board that you want a Corpse Explosion. You just want to get your quest done. So I don't know that the quest deck is running. I mean, maybe it is running Corpse Explosion, but I think it's going to not be expecting to use Corpse Explosion as a big clear like the Death Knights we have right now, because you're going to be incentivized to spend corpses a little bit more liberally than we are right now.
I don't know. I view it as just like, I play this on turn 1, which is not a turn you do anything anyway. And then eventually you get this payoff of like an infinite beastie and location that deals some damage. Like, just strikes me as extra resource for control.
And sometimes you just discover a spell and you've got like 35 corpses and you're like, fine, I need stuff. So just give me stuff. Yeah. I mean, the problem with that is that you're getting 3 random undeads. So you're kind of canceling out the value of the discover, which is the selection. Because now it's just 3 random ones, and that doesn't mean that they're good. But also at that point, you may just care about warm bodies, or in this case, cold bodies, I suppose.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I could see in some decks that almost being a hand space issue. But
It depends on what it is. They could be 3 really expensive undeads too,
Well, Wicked, your time to shine.
Yeah. Okay. So Edel got to talk about Death Knights. Does that mean I get to talk about Priest? Is that how this works?
I will chime in, but you can present.
They're not
Yes.
they're not Megasa Priest cards. These are not purple priest cards. These are white priest cards.
Oh, don't worry, I already built an aggro priest with
I'm
it.
sure you did. Okay. I would be disappointed if you hadn't. Anyway, so we can start with the quest, and the quest is going to lead us down a holy and shadow, much like Megasa and I approach in our approaches to priest. It is both holy and shadow at the same time. This is Reach Equilibrium. Reach Equilibrium. Quest, cast 5 holy spells, reward Life's Breath. Quest, cast 5 shadow spells, reward Death's Touch. What's that you say? I said quest twice. I sure did. It's 2 quests in 1. It is a peanut butter cup of quests. So you actually get 2 quests when you cast it. Cleanse the Shadow and Corrupt the Light are going to show up as both quests on your portrait when you cast them. The reward for the holy quest is Solitos Life's Breath, which is a 5 mana 4/4 with Taunt, Battlecry, summon a copy of this. And then Solitos Death's Touch is the shadow reward, which is 5 mana 4/4, Reborn, Death Rattle, deal 5 damage to a random enemy. And both sides, they're both elementals, by the way. And both sides say if you're holding both halves of Solitos combined, and by their powers combined, they are a 5 mana 8/8 Taunt Reborn with Battlecry, summon a copy of this. Death Rattle, deal 5 damage to a random enemy. So you literally get both. They're twice as big, and they do the thing. And, yeah, I would very much like to do this. This is slow, because these are going to take a little while, though you do have shadow spells like Nightshade Tea that will get you multiple shadow spells. You've got some holy spells that repeat. I think, what is it, like Light Speed from Great Dark Beyond? That's like give a minion some sort of a buff repeatable this turn. So there are ways to get extra holy spells, and there are also minions that will get you additional holy spells as well. So we have Twilight Mender is a 3 mana 3/4 with Death Rattle, get a random holy and a shadow spell. Also Spirit Guide is in core. That's a 5 mana Death Rattle taunt with Death Rattle, give you draw a holy spell and a shadow spell from your deck. We have Glade Song Siren is a 6 mana 4/7 Lifesteal Naga, which costs 1 if you've played a holy spell and a shadow spell this turn. So that's going to incentivize you to do that with delightful control things. You have Glade Ecologist, which is a 1 mana 2/1 with Death Rattle, get a 1-cost holy spell that called Purifying Vines that gives a minion +2 or -2 health. If you target a friendly minion, it's +2. If you target an enemy, it's -2. So that's just another way to generate more holy spells as well. And then we also have a couple more holy and shadow spells in this set. We have Grave Dawn Sunbloom, which is a 4 mana holy spell. Draw 2 cards. Kindred, this costs 2 less. Remember that Kindred on spells means if you cast a holy spell, last turn that triggers. And then Grave Dawn Void Bulb is a 4 mana shadow spell. Summon a random 4-cost minion and give it taunt. Kindred, do it again. And then Resuscitate is a 5 mana shadow spell that resurrects a 1, 2, and 3 cost minion and give them Reborn. Presumably, at least the 1-cost minion is probably going to be the Glade Ecologist, so you can get more holy spells to advance your quest.
Not necessarily a thing you want to resurrect, but I could imagine 2-cost being the Naga, just because you're playing a bunch of spells, and you can sort of pick out of the Naga whichever you need more of, right? Holy or shadow.
Yeah.
Tidepool
Pupil. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've got there's cheap holy spells in the form of like Power Word Shield, Orbital Halo, Flash Heal. Goku in the Discord had a very funny idea that I haven't been able to quite build it to work. But you can use the new egg in the neutrals. It's a Pterodax something 0/3 when it dies, summon a 3/3 that steals 1 health from all minions. You have it die, you resurrect it with Resuscitate, and then you play Gravity Lapse, and that kills it by setting its health to its attack. And then I believe it would work that it would then summon the Reborn Egg, and then it would summon the 3/3. I'm not sure what order it would do, but if it does it in the right order, then that would kill the new one from the Reborn when the first one steals its health. Was that not you, Goku, who said that? Sorry to whoever did say that then. Whoever had the idea of the Pterodax egg, that was very funny, so I have to say it here.
That was the best Pterodax egg use case I've seen all day, though. So,
but yeah, we have lots of ways that we can cast these spells. And another thing to note about, because the reward is an elemental, you can copy it with the new Cloud Serpent neutral that copies an elemental in your hand, as long as you don't have another elemental.
Let's go.
No. Oh, no. Yeah, get a copy of another elemental or dragon in your hand, and you can pretty easily make it the only elemental in your deck.
I don't see a whole lot of other elementals that we're running. I mean, I guess there is one other elemental in this set, which is we the rest of the priest set is weird cards. So Wilted Shadow is the only other elemental, which is a 7-mana 7/7 elemental with lifesteal. Whenever you heal an enemy, this attacks it. So you're probably not playing this in Imbue Priest, because you probably want the hero power that will heal something. You can feel free to emote, the light will burn you, or if you are more refined, blessings to you before you do that. But yes, this is kind of like, this is basically Healadari Inquisitor is what this is. You, instead of attacking something, you heal it, and then this attacks it. And you will do probably net 5 damage to whatever you're healing. Or if they're full health, you just do the full 7 because you haven't healed them at all. You just pointed your hero power at it.
If you have... Oh, the person with the idea about the eggs was El Terrace. Thank you, El Terrace. Okay. And thank you for finding that, Goku. All right. Careless Crafter has Death Rattle get 2 0-cost bandages that restore 3 health. And so they're 0 cost. So then you do a net 4 damage. One thing also that we got a clarification on, so unlike Northshire Cleric, it does not need to already be damaged in order to count as being healed.
Good.
As long as you target it with a healing spell or hero power or the 1-mana 2/1 that no one has ever played for the past 10 years, except for at the very beginning that heals 2.
Voodoo some...
Voodoo
He's
Doctor?
in core, actually.
Voodoo Doctor, yeah.
Is in core, technically. So any healing effect that you target on an enemy, even if they're already at full health, that will work for Wilted Shadow.
Yeah, and important to note that, what is it, Crafty or
Careless Crafter.
Careless Crafter is a 3-cost Death Rattle minion. So Resuscitate would bring him back. So you could get even more of those. So you can just spam Wilted Shadow for damage. I mean, that would be a hell of a way to win, just like 24 damage face from Wilted Shadow by just building up all those bandages in your hand. I mean, it's a hell of a slow burn, but I mean, that would get you on Trolled In probably. I'm just saying.
I feel like you need some way to buff it.
Do you? I mean, if they're full health, this is 27.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. There's going to be times where you need to like not have as many bandages or whatever.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you can orbital halo it.
You can only have so many bandages in hand also.
Yeah, but you also have your hero power on 9 mana, right? So you you know, assuming they're full health, so that's like 20 plus 7 is 27, and then a hero power is another 5. That's 32. We did it.
Or Orbital Halo might be enough because it also doesn't cost mana, right?
Yeah.
And you can basically make it happen with the bandages. So maybe that's it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I don't know.
And then you copy this and you do it again. It's a weird card. I don't know if this is I don't know if this is actually going to make it into, but I mean also like this is going to be more healing than just using your hero power on your face, right? So it's a cool design. I like it to be able to use the hero power for something other than memeing. So,
Yeah,
take
you
those.
can use it for removal in a pinch, right? With your hero power or a careless crafter thing. I'm not sure if this is going to see play, but it is a really interesting card.
Yeah. We also got the other legendary is Archaeos. It's a 3-mana 1/6 beast, majestic bird, I must say. Whenever another friendly minion attacks, set its health equal to this minion's health. It's not quite the 4-mana inner fire minion that we had forever ago that I forget what the hell it was called, but
I don't think it was a inner fire minion. It was Ahmet, right?
Yeah.
Who, whenever you summoned a minion, you set its health to Ahmet's health.
Right. Yeah, so you would buff up his health, and then you would have that come on, and then you would interfire it, right? And then
Right.
Yeah, but this is, I mean, even in Wild, you're not going to necessarily be able to do interfire shenanigans with this because you would have to interfire it before it attacks, so it would have to get on board, attack once to get the buff, and then get buffed. So that's not necessarily going to work with interfire the way that Ahmet did.
I mean, it just keeps your minions sturdy, right?
Yeah, it's fine. If you can buff it, it's good,
For a more aggressive priest, keep having all your minions have 6 health.
Yeah.
Like, you play this when you have a board, now all your minions have 6 health. Like, that's pretty good. And if you buff it, then they have even more health. You can heal it back up if it starts to take damage. You could combo it with Wilted Shadow if you're, like, having it clear things down a line, and it keeps getting 6 health again when it goes to attack.
That is actually kind of funny. Yeah.
That's a big setup, but...
A big setup for some big butts, so it is what it is. All right, and then we have the most controversial card of the priest set. Story of Amara. 10 mana spell. What do you get for that 10 mana, you might ask? Set your hero's health to 40.
So we had a spirited debate about this in our group chat.
We pre-gamed this debate.
So spoiler alert, the one who you would think would be most excited about this card is actually the least excited about this card. Because I think this is absolute trash, is what I think. And the fact that, and I just now noticed that they put it at common, which kind of says that they are not scared of this being a thing at all. Like, this is giving Reno a common, and they're not worried.
I don't know how much rarity gating really comes into, like, concern. I sort of feel like epics are usually, like, sort of weird stuff, and then, I mean, I don't really know the criteria for rares. Rares is always sort of whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just sort of think that, because initially the thing was like, what the heck? Vampiric Blood costs 2 mana and draws you a card and increases your max health by 10. But to me, the important distinction is you can go from, like, 5 health to 40 health. And that's a big deal. Like, Amara gave you an 8/8, I guess I think with taunt, right?
It definitely had taunt. Yeah.
And of course, all of them cost 5 because that's what quest rewards cost. But you had to, like, play or summon or something 7 death rattles.
That wasn't that hard by the time that it needed more support than it had when it came out, but eventually it got to the point that wasn't that hard to do.
A significant deck building restriction, though, if you are something control to sort of run a bunch of semi-janky death rattle minions, and so here, unlike the Death Knight cards, which one, just increase your max by 10, they cannot set you from low totals to suddenly 40, and 2, cost corpses and have rune restrictions. This is just 10 mana, run a copy in your deck, and you have an emergency escape button.
My counterpoint to that is that it's 10 mana, do nothing. So if you're using it as an escape button, you're basically just giving your opponent an extra turn to do the whole thing over again. You're not actually if they have any sort of a board, then you're taking all that damage again, and you're not actually healing all that much. So if you can't actually get this discounted, or you're doing like Ysera things, or you have an Aviana active, okay, fine. If it costs 1, I'm into it. That's a much better card when it costs 1 instead of 10.
Or you got it off the imbue hero power, or you have a ceaseless.
But even if you're getting it off the imbue power, the hero power, that's still your whole turn. Well, I guess it's not if you're discounting it more, right? So if you've discounted a whole bunch, then yeah, maybe that's a little bit better. If you've gotten like deep into the game and you're getting this off of imbue with like a 5 or 6 mana discount, sure. But again, that's going back to what I'm saying. Like you need to be able to do something else in the turn for this not to just be setting you right back to where you were, unless you're doing this on an empty board, in which case you probably are already in a winning position anyway. If it's that late and you have a free turn to just play a 10 mana spell that does nothing other than set your health to 40.
As the person who's usually playing the beatdown deck, there are situations where this would absolutely win the game on the spot. So it's decks where you have some over-the-top damage, but you relied on getting earlier damage to put them in range. You've gassed out on your board. They play Story of Amara, you're done.
Yeah,
right?
The Corpsicle decks, the Foam Render decks.
But I mean, like, that's no different than, like, if you're already at 10 mana, you are in a very fragile position as an aggro deck at that point anyway. If you're at turn 10 against a control deck, you're probably on the cusp of losing anyway, and like a greater healing potion plus like any clear is probably the same thing, right? Except then you're not actually still facing down the same board. Not
really, right? Like it is the burn situation in particular, right? It is the I play multiple acupunctures and then pair it to replay, and like greater healing potion is a lot, but there have definitely been times where it's like, okay, because they are like Protoss imbue or whatever, right? It's like I've used a bunch of stuff, but now the problem is I just have my hero power for healing, and greater healing potion is just not always enough. And I think having a spell that you can look to and be like, this is Purifying Shard in certain matchups, right? To just say, game's over, I think has value.
And if we had ETC in standard, I would agree with you, right? Because like when you say in certain matchups, then I want that in an ETC where I can also get like anything else that's going to be useful against the decks that aren't that. And I mean, there is a legitimate cost to putting a 10 mana spell in your deck that is only situationally useful. And I don't know how often those situations actually are going to arise, because more often than not, I'm losing to getting beaten down by minions, not by getting burned over the top. It's very few. I mean, it's basically Demon Hunter that's really finishing with like an Arana acupuncture line. But more often than not, it's just there's a big board, and that's just going to hit me again if I play this. Right?
The board has to do more than 40 damage, though. That's the thing. The board has to do more than 40 damage, and that buys you a turn for a repackage.
And 40 damage is a lot. Like
even big boards don't do 40. Yeah, usually.
Right, like there are big boards that are scary, that deal 20 damage, and this is like, okay, I am eliminating the threat of your current board and buying me like a whole additional turn to deal with it. That's still not the situation I prefer to play this, but I think, it has a lot more situations than just the burn stuff, because there are a lot of boards that you get to ignore by going to 40.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Chad is talking about Aviana Priest. If we have gotten Aviana active, we do not need to set our health to 40. We are already winning. Like hardcore winning most of the time, or we have ways to super not die. I've never, like, when I have lost with Aviana Priest after getting Aviana active, things have gone pretty disastrously wrong at that point for the most part.
Yeah, a deck like at least the Aviana Priest we've been playing, right? That's sort of like, okay, we play Aviana and then we focus on winning the game. I think that's not really
That's not the
a
use
thing
case
we're
for
thinking
this.
about.
Yeah.
But yeah, if there is a like slower imbue control priest that comes up, like the kind of control priest that runs Dirty Rat, I think that's the deck where I could see running this, just because it's such a hard reset.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's, well, so if we ever ended up with a control priest deck that was so top heavy that we're running like Sooth Fancy and the thing that makes the top card of your deck cost 1.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah. That we're
yeah.
running 3 bad cards to try to make
Sooth
one
Fancy
good.
is not
Okay.
a bad card.
Okay.
Sooth Fancy is not a bad card. He just doesn't go in everything.
Right. But yeah. I guess I do want to say, like, when we're talking about Imbue Priest, like, that's not really where we're evaluating this, because you're not putting that in your deck at this point. You're going to get that sometimes, you're going to pick it, and it's being offered to you, and it's probably going to be better than whatever the other option is. So, like, yes, you will get offered it from Imbue Priest. You'll probably take it from Imbue Priest. Imbue Priest will be active, but I don't think that affects, like, the do you put this in your deck decision. It's the same thing, like, with, like, Mage is going to get this from the spell that discovers a spell that costs 8 or more, and it costs 1, and then if you have the quest active, you get the other 2. They're going to get this, and it's going to annoy the hell out of people. That's just the thing that's going to happen. But that's also not really the use case for it.
And sometimes that's enough reason for a card to exist, right?
That's fine too.
That, like, because it makes those kinds of things interesting, just being in the pool for that stuff. So yeah, there's a world, right, where it doesn't get run in decks, but we see it enough just because it exists and gets pulled by that mage spell or priest imbues.
Or some sort of rogue shenanigans that we've yet to see. That's gonna, like, discover a 10-cost spell, make it cost 0, and cast it twice, or whatever rogue's gonna get. Like, I'm sure that's gonna be a card. But this sure is a card that is going to be in standard, and we're going to see if it is played or not. We'll see. I mean, assuming Control Priest is a thing, which I hope it is, but it may, that's also, In
the next year and a half, I think this is in something.
Okay. I mean, there's a lot of Hearthstone to play, so it's very likely that it will happen at some point. I mean, I didn't think that we were going to be playing Aviana on purpose this time 3 months ago. So anything's possible. Like, and I mean, Aviana, I was about as low as I was on this. So, and I'm playing Aviana on purpose. So anything's possible. I will say that for sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, I wanted to quickly say I made one Menagerie Priest based on Resuscitate. So you have, like, 1-drops that you're happy to get back. So Brain Masseuse, Catch of the Day, and Sizzling Cinder. You can't really run Overzealous Healer in that situation unless you're sure you're going to have a spell to play with her, because then you, like, Reborn both of them, heal your opponent 6. That's bad. But Sizzling Cinder is not bad to have as an alternative. For 2 costs, like Tortolan Storyteller or Shadow Ascendant, those Reborn, they don't have a death rattle, but you're happy to have them be sticky. They buff something else. Maybe even Prize Vendor if we need the draw. 3 cost was hard to find a good one. I ended up putting Workhorse in there, but we can probably do better than that. But just as a thing that we want to get back again. And Menagerie Jug and Torga, and then Archaeas for the reason I mentioned of, like, it just makes your board really sticky. The silly one that is almost certainly not good, and that does not have enough new cards to play in Theory Crafting, tragically, because that is the one place where it might be good, is a Crazed Alchemist Priest with Archaeas. There is actually a number of ways that you can buff its health, and then you play other things, and they have to clear all of them. Or you have something that you can Crazed Alchemist. It's not, we would have to have some way to get chip damage in, because it's not like, I have not discovered a great OTK here. You do have Chillin' Vol'jin, who can switch it to another minion you have down. I am, like, 99.9% sure that this is completely terrible, but
yeah.
It is a thing that I'm exploring.
I do miss Void Ripper, though. I mean, Void Ripper would be perfect for that deck. I guess the other thing that's worth considering with Resuscitate is that Sentry is a 2-cost minion that you want to get a lot of. So maybe that's a way to get more sentries in like
Oh.
a Protoss priest. That's another line that you could go.
Well, and the Void Ray, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a good 3-drop to get back with Reborn.
Yeah, it'll be a
Yeah.
3/2, not a 5/4, but who cares, right? Like that's still, if you're getting it for free, it's fine.
It'll be
Yeah.
still a 3/2 Divine Shield Rush that dies and summons a 3/1 Divine Shield Rush.
Yeah. And also, if you really want to troll and you're playing priest, so you probably do, Explodeneer is a 3-mana 2/4 at the end of your turn. Shuffle a bomb into your opponent's deck that blows up for 5 damage.
All right, so we have many folks we'd like to thank. Check out our thanks section on the website at coinconcede.com, where you also find our content info, show notes, and our Patreon information. You can monetarily support our show at patreon.com/coinconcede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.coinconcede.com, and subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/@coinconcede. These new things are...
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I forgot to warn you that I put that in.
I was warned, it's just...
Also, make sure to like and subscribe if you're watching the video. Please and thank you.
Oh, gosh. All right. Join our community chats in our Discord at discord.coinconcede.com and write into our email at coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Blue Sky at coinconcede. And if you'd like some CC swag, head over to our shop at shop.coinconcede.com. I'm going to have to, practice this and figure out, a good order that has a flow that works or something.
Yeah,
you
we've
can
ruined
sift
your
around
whole
the
flow.
order.
I mean, it's hard
Yeah.
when you've been doing the same spiel for the last, I don't know, 150 episodes or whatever it is, or 100, I guess it's 100 episodes, right? That you've been doing this and not hat. So yeah.
Well, Coin Concedes.
I will coin concede to our Coin Concede listener series top 8. Chair 42, Spine, I think is how I would pronounce that, SP1 and 3. The Grand Arcanum, Glacier, JT Snow, NY Kiwi, Torby Flenderson, and King Viking 23. Congrats to all of you for making it to the top 8.
I'm going to coin concede to Obi-Wan Kenobi for allowing me to play Control Priest for the first time in a long time and having a lot of fun. Even if my win rate is not as good as it was, I am still having a great time and extremely, extremely happy that this got to exist even for a short period of time. So,
And I'm going to coin concede to my D&D groups. It's funny. I still say D&D, even though we have not played D&D in months. We've been playing a different system. But I ran my first adventure in this system, that's not a published adventure. They really liked it, and we're supportive, and I don't know, just have gotten a lot of nice feedback about the current campaign, which I was a little nervous about. It is challenging trying to say, hey, this is going to last 10 quests, and then it's done. Each one, you gain a level after each one. It's just a faster pace than I think we're accustomed to with tabletop RPGs, but it is both nice just to be able to get through things, and also is a very sort of different style of doing as the game master. But good flow, and I made basically a dungeon entirely of riddles, which was I just like riddles. Sometime in the future I'll do more trap rooms, because those have multiple solutions, which is good for tabletop role playing. But I'm just a big fan of riddles, and so it was this whole thing where there's kind of a mysterious voice that's sort of trapped them in this floor of the dungeon, and they've got to answer the riddles to get through. They have a certain number of tries, and then they're sort of getting stuff that will help them in the final encounter at the end. So
you made Saw, is what you're saying.
I did, yeah. Less gruesome, but it was kind of like that, and this sort of mysterious voice. They're going to go meet up with them in one of the cities later, and they'll. It's a lich. The lich is going to give them answers on where they can find basically the stuff that each of their characters is motivated to pursue, and then at the end of it, there'll be some big bad final threat that once they've all gotten their powerful stuff, they'll have to go fight. So, it's been fun to plan out, and it's been great, getting to run for my groups, despite not having run anything before and to be running a new system, I don't know, could have could have gone badly.
So here's a free tip for you. If you can work the line, Lich better have my money into the campaign.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Anyway, that'll do it for this week. So until next time, keep calm and stay frosty. And if you see us on ladder, coin concede.
Coin concede.
Coin concede.
All life must end. I yield for now. I concede. Well fought. I concede.
You win this one.
The victory is yours.
You have bested me.
I give up.
You win this one, friend. You win this time. I choose death.